Hello everyone, welcome, gather around, and let me tell you a little story. It's a tale shrouded in mystery, a fable, with very little proof, a sprinkle of anecdotal evidence, and just a dash of open-endedness to spark your curiosity, so I guess we could call it a legend. A legend of the Presearing Moa bird. If you talk to the farmer Pitney after helping him with his worm problem, he will ask you to help find his prize Moa bird. He says that it was stolen, and that the tracks indicate it was dragged off to the catacombs. Sadly, when we go down to the catacombs, it's already too late. The Moa bird is not alive anymore, and the surrounding scenery suggests that it was used as a sacrifice to perform some kind of a necromantic ritual, most likely to summon a crypt fiend found nearby. The death of his pet is of course tragic news for Pitney, but it's also tragic news for Ascalon's fauna as a whole, because this Moa bird was the only Moa bird left in Ascalon. All the other pink ostrich-like birds found in Presearing are striders, and while they look identical to Moas, there is one big difference between them. Moas and racing beetles are the only two animal species in Guild Wars to have faster attack speed than all the other pets, and striders don't share that trait with them. So that's it then. You can't have a pet with increased attack speed in Presearing. Getting a Moa bird is impossible. Or is it? Here's where I would put the Vsauce or is it theme. You know the one, like... You know what I'm talking about, but it's copyrighted, and I respect that. If you charm a Strider, level it up to level 3, and then change zones, it will become a Moa bird. You can reset its name, and it will still be a Moa bird. It's a Moa bird. I conducted a little attack speed test with the Strider, and later repeated it with the Moa, and if you put them side by side, you can clearly see that the Moa attacks faster. I can also see the difference in my editing software. The time between attacks isn't uniform, probably because of latency or maybe some animation differences, but it averages out to 2.13 seconds per attack for a Strider and 1.86 seconds per attack for a Moa. Wait a minute, that's not 25% faster, that's like 12.5% faster. Still faster, but what is going on? Turns out there are many different Moa birds named Moa Bird in the game. They all look the same, but if you analyze them with Toolbox, they have different model IDs depending on where you found them and what their evolution is. So the following might not apply to all various Moas in the game, but it looks like for some Moas, and that includes our Presearing one, 25% increased attack speed is only true for dire, aggressive, or elder Moas, and our unevolved Moa only gets about a 10%, in my testing 12.5% attack speed increase. This comment also mentions that hearty Moas don't get any increased attack speed at all, but that appears incorrect. As you can see, this gets very confusing very quickly, but the important part is our Strider-born, Moa-raised Presearing bird has a 12.5% increased attack speed. Alright, so that's case closed. There is a way to get a Moa bird in Presearing, and they do attack faster than other pets. All you have to do is just play normally. Well, of course, it's not that simple. You see, when your Moa levels up to level 11, it turns back into a Strider. At this moment, we don't know why it changes back. We don't even know why it changes into a Moa in the first place. A likely theory is that it has something to do with pet evolutions, but at this point, I don't know the specifics. The main point is you can have a Moa bird for a while, but then it changes back to a regular Strider again, so it's back to the drawing board. But maybe not. There are some screenshots of a level 11 and even a level 12 Moa bird in Presearing, and it seems that the two players researching it, Iros and Hags, might have found a way to keep a Moa past level 11 through some trial and error. In this post on Presearing Discord, Iros mentions that they don't have a consistent way to reproduce it, but they might be able to get it all the way up to level 20, although it's not guaranteed. So at this point, we're waiting for more results of the research, and usually that would be the end of it all, but there is one more very silly aspect to the whole story. There is one player that claims to have an actual, proper Presearing Moa, the real deal, that it was found in Ashford on a new character, and that it spawned being already called Moa Bird, and that sounds... I mean... bugs happen, but if sometimes a Strider in Presearing spawned as a Moa Bird, I think people would have noticed. Then again, maybe this is someone finally noticing, maybe it's a recent thing caused by some backend changes 2 weeks made. Maybe people don't really pay attention to the pink birds. They're colloquially called Moas all the time because that's what they're called in post, so maybe if you keep referring to them as Moas anyway, it wouldn't stand out that much. To be perfectly honest, if a Strider spawned in as a Moa bird for me in my years I played Presearing, I probably wouldn't have noticed it because I don't look at the friendly NPCs all that much. Plus, there was no reason not to trust that person, and it was an interesting theory to check out, so I and some others from the Presearing Discord began our Moa bird hunt. The method is really simple. Exit out of Ashford Abbey, press Alt to highlight friendly NPCs, look for the Striders left and right, see if any spawned named Moa Bird, walk back to Ashford, rinse and repeat. And repeat. And repeat. And if you are or ever have been remotely interested in Pokemon, then this process will instantly remind you of shiny hunting, but instead of a differently colored Pokemon, we're looking for a differently named animal. Still, this was incredibly interesting to me, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect, because recently I went into a bit of a rabbit hole learning about shiny hunting after YouTube suggested a Fire Red Badge Quest video by AbsolBlog's Pokemon, and his passion for Pokemon, the positivity and the excitement of it all resonated with me in a big way, because I feel the same towards my favorite games and my little goals in them, and I just kept thinking about it, smiling from ear to ear as I had the chance to participate in this community effort, and believe me, there were multiple of us running back and forth at Ashford Portal, all to try to find our little Guild Wars version of a shiny Pokemon. I only really play my main Melandru Ranger, and I already have a pet that I wouldn't want to get rid of, so at first I just wanted to see the Moa bird. Just seeing it and confirming that it can actually spawn like that would have been enough for me, but after resetting at Ashford for 2 straight hours, I slowly came to a realization that I should probably get an alt with Charm Animal with me, so that I can also catch it for some further testing. So I opened up a second client and ran a ranger to Regent's Valley to grab the Charm Animal skill, then joined my main at Ashford and kept resetting for 1 more hour before I called it quits for the day. And I already ran into some issues. I already mentioned it in one of my other videos, but it's really hot right now in Poland, and running 2 Guild Wars clients would make my PC overheat big time, constantly getting up to 95 degrees. So to minimize the CPU usage, I decided to minimize my alt's client as well, which worked fine, but also caused crashes sometimes. Thankfully, just restarting the game and joining my main back at Ashford took like 20 seconds tops. The next day I went back to resetting at Ashford, but after an hour with no luck, and no luck reported from others doing the same, I decided to do a little bit of exploring. So I went on Guild Wars Wiki to check where else we can find Striders in Presearing, and interestingly enough, the wiki said that Striders can be found in Regent's Valley, and I don't remember any Striders spawning in there, so with my interest moderately piqued, I ran through the entire Regent's Valley looking all around for a Strider, and I haven't found a single one. I suspected that would be the case, but I wanted to be thorough anyway, and so I updated the wiki, removing Regent's Valley and adding Green Hills County, because yes, there is a bunch of Striders there, and they spawn pretty close to Baradin's estate, so I decided to try my luck over there. I could immediately tell that this location is worse than Ashford for two main reasons. The first one being that when you exit Ashford, the Striders can only be on your left or on your right, but when you're exiting Baradins, the Striders can literally be anywhere in a 360-degree radius, so you have to look around more, and it takes a little bit more time, which of course adds up over the course of hundreds of resets. And the second reason was that in addition to Striders, the area here also contained friendly moss spiders, and having a friendly NPC with a two-word name starting with M is a very bad thing when you're tired and trying to spot a Moa bird. Nevertheless, I spent an hour here, and I decided that the next day I will be coming back to Ashford. One thing I should mention is that this whole ordeal is taking place when I have floors changed at my house after a little bit of a flooding incident earlier this year. So me and my wife's bedroom and our living room are completely packed up. We had to move for a while, and it all added to the adventure feeling of this whole thing to me. One downside of that though is that I didn't have my microphone with me. So I recorded all the footage first, and now I'm recording the voiceover commentary separately, which is not how I usually do things, so let me know if this video is any good. Anyway, as I decided, I went back to Ashford the next day, but after just an hour of resetting, my doubts finally caught up to me. One major difference between shiny hunting and what we were doing is that for shiny hunting, the odds might be very low, but at least you know that the shiny Pokemon exist. As for the Moa birds, we didn't know the approximate odds, or if there is a requirement or a condition that has to be met for them to spawn. We didn't even have any actual hard proof that we can actually find Moas in the wild, and that uncertainty, well, it starts growing in you. I spent 6 hours looking for a Moa bird, others also spent hours searching, and nobody had any luck so far, so I decided that this is good enough for now. Maybe I'll go back to hunting for a Moa one day. Maybe we'll organize a community Moa Monday and we all do our best for one evening to try and find this bird, but until then, I wanted a little memento to keep this short Moa craze, and while resetting during what turned out to be my final hour, I started picking up the beautiful feather that spawns in the Strider pen in Ashford, so I decided that I'll just go for a full stack of those. They're used in one of the quests, and besides, they aren't useful for anything, but I kept glancing at them all this time while looking for a Moa in here, so I thought they would be a cool symbol for this whole thing. And I think I can spare one inventory slot on my Melandro Ranger for a cool memory. So, 250 resets later, here's the final feather. I still don't know if we can find a wild Moa bird in Presearing, and I don't know if the Striders that evolve into Moas can somehow stay as a Moa up to level 20, but I'm back home now, we unpacked everything, we had a good time away from home, I got to try out something completely new in one of my favorite games, I'm getting a cool video out of this whole thing, and I know I'll remember this whole community-wide hunt for pink birds for a long time. And the shitposting on Discord. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, hope you'll have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.